All right, on the CircuitPython Parsec today, it is the continuing saga of the development of this Spyce Invaders game, as I'm calling it. And so far we've got, using a Nintendo-style controller, it's actually a Nintendo controller here over I2C, to control ship movement, to fire projectiles. We have an enemy ship. It's actually disappeared and off the screen right now, so I'm just going to restart the program. And last week we added collision detection of the projectile that we fire and the ship. So we're checking essentially the boundary, the bottom edge and the right and the left, to see if that coincides with the position of the projectile, and then we register a hit. So I thought for this week what we would do is actually reward the player for shooting the ship. So you can see here, when I miss the ship, the projectile disappears, and then we can fire one more. So we have to go off the edge to fire. We can't fire multiple projectiles. Now we'll also check to see if we've hit the ship, what we can do with the graphic of the ship. So boom, I hit it, and you can see there in the REPL it said boom, enemy destroyed. And we swapped the graphic out for a little sort of explosion pattern of lines. So we'll hit the ship again. You can see we get this nice little explosion pattern, which is actually pretty similar to Spyce Invaders. I haven't done that much finessing of the graphics yet, but the basic idea is when you hit the ship, it just becomes this sort of second graphic, this static second graphic of sort of explosion lines. And so the way that I'm doing that is we're still using the same collision detection code, but then I have this new function here called create explosion. And we are going to call that when there's a collision between the projectile and the enemy. And we just tell it the center position of the enemy, because it's where we want to emanate the explosion from. So we call it with center X, center Y. We create a little list, a little list here for explosion lines. It's empty at first. We calculate that center, and then we go and for each of the 10, I decided on 10 lines for the explosion. For each of those 10, we're going to create a line that goes in 36-degree increments, so we get 10 filling the whole circle. I have a little line length of 20 here, and then we create the endpoints of those, and then generate the display IO line by saying line equals line, and then the explosion center X, explosion center Y, the endpoint X, the endpoint Y, and then we're creating it with the color black there. We then append each of those lines to the screen group and then show those. Then after we have paused for half a second, so the explosion shows up for half a second and then disappears, we do two things. We clear all of those lines. So for each of those lines, we do a screen group remove to pull that off the screen, out of memory. And then we respawn the enemy. So I'm just putting the enemy back up at the top position there by recreating that graphic up at the top so that we can start over again. And so that is how you can create an explosion effect, a minimal one, inside of CircuitPython in our Spyce Invaders game. And that is your CircuitPython Parsec.